Good evening, welcome to Wightlink WRTV. We're joined by some of the officials, one of them in fact from tonight's game, referee Stephen Matthews, and of course James Irons, also an official. Coming down tonight obviously for the first leg of the semi-final of the Cup against Wightlink Raiders, an equally tight game finishing 4-4. Do you like games like that finish quite tight when you're officiating games that goes end to end?
Yeah, obviously I knew it was playoff semi-final first legs. I just tried to let the players sort of play. They know I'm out there, I communicate with them quite well, and I had a chat with them before the game anyway. And I just tried basically to stay out of the way and let them sort of play it, and which they did. It was a cracking game, hardly any sort of penalties. Could have called it a little bit more, but they sort of decided, and as you can see, it was a pretty decent game.
Obviously you've been officiating in this league now for quite a few years. Is there any particular rinks you're fond of going to?
Yeah, of course. No, Bracknell's quite nice due to the warmth. It's not so cold even in the winter times. But most rinks we go to, they're quite, you know what I mean? I know the facilities are quite different in different rinks, but most of them are really welcoming. You know what I mean? You get to meet some nice people, so yeah, many a rink is quite a good rink.
Obviously, the referees and officials in this country come in for a lot of criticism. It's not the easiest job in the world to do, and you've got to be pretty thick-skinned to do it. Yeah. But what do you sort of gain from when you do officiate? The biggest thing you get from it as obviously an official?
It's an achievement, to be honest. I mean, the way you sort of climbed the ladder, I've been officiating now from only for about 4 or 5 years. We started off lining, and to be in a sort of game like that that's the sort of games that you want to do. So you get out there, satisfaction. People come up to you after the game, told you had a good game. You know, I know the way the public have their opinion, but to hear things like that, that's the sort of reason why you do it, and it's just to be involved. It's just a good thing to do.
Obviously there's quite a few officials across the league. Dave Cloutman obviously used to ref this level many years ago, and your name's been mentioned quite a lot in recent conversations with some fans across the league as being one of the better officials. Not that you want to try and grade them, but when you sort of hear obviously that you're sort of deemed in that bracket, does that give you a good sense of achievement that you know you're calling a fair game?
It makes obviously gives you a bit of a smile on your face, and it makes, you know, people are noticing what you do, and obviously that you're doing it well. We get feedback from sort of fellow officials. You said Dave was one of our seniors that we do work for. We get a bit of feedback from him, and so feedback from any sort of officials. One of my favourites is Tim Pickett as well, working with him. He's been around a while, so you know, we get feedback off everyone, not just the fans, and it's good to hear good things, and obviously the things I need to work on. So no one of us is going to be perfect out there. We all need to improve. So yeah, it's good when you do your things that are good things about you. Knows you're doing a good job.
Just touching on that, you said, like I say, you've got things you've got to work on. At the end of the day, we're all human, everyone makes mistakes, and every official that would be there to sort of say at the end of the game in the bar afterwards with a fan, maybe I could have called that, maybe I should have called this, you know. At the end of the day, you've got to just split second judgment. A lot of fans probably don't understand that part of the game.
You're right there. Fans, you know, I mean, they all have their opinion, and so they should. You know, they pay they pay for us, they pay for the players, they pay to help the sport carry on. But like I said, I tried to call a game where it's things to take into consideration. Where did the incident take place? In the defensive zone, where you made someone let go in the neutral zone. Obviously, if it changes the style of play, injury, things like that. So there's a lot of things you take on board to call a penalty, but obviously fans don't see that. But again, some of them are just too obvious that you can't really not call.
And we'll turn our attention over to James Irons here now. He's come down, obviously, you know, sort of following on from what we're talking about Steve there. Obviously, as an official, you know, pretty much like a player, I suppose, you want to sort of achieve as much as you possibly can in the sport. Obviously, lining and refereeing at the higher levels of the sport, is that something obviously that most officials will look to do?
Yeah, I'd say every official wants to progress. I don't think anyone gets in it to stay at junior level. So it's nice when you get a call to go up a league, or you get 1 and 2 in the league. You get some good games there, tight games. That game tonight, you would like to be in that one. It's tight right to the end, so everyone was right in it to the last second.
And obviously, when you do ref the higher levels, obviously the English Premier League or possibly the League, if that call comes, what do you find the biggest difference in terms of officiating at the higher levels brings with it?
Speed, and maybe in some cases players are a bit more educated. I guess that they just get on your case a little bit quicker if you do make a mistake. But
you find a lot less to call, don't you? The higher up leagues you go, a lot less you have to call.
Just gets a lot tighter.
Yeah, the calls you do make are
a lot easier.
Spot on. So I mean, you've got to be on your sort of game, because it is going just a bit. You know what it says, it's a bit quicker.
And obviously, just sort of touching on something, obviously from a British official sort of point of view recently, of course, Joy Johnson, I believe her name is, or Johnson, obviously did the Olympics not so long ago. Obviously, I think it's their 3rd Olympics. You know, when you see someone like that, obviously, without sounding sexist, a female official climbing the ladder and doing something like that, it's a pinnacle in her career. How does it make you feel as a sort of fellow official seeing that happen for someone from this country? Is it something you sort of think to yourself, you know, that would be good to do something like that one day internationally?
Oh yeah, first and foremost for Joy, because everyone who works with it proud and almost starstruck almost. You get to work with someone who's refereed an Olympic gold medal game every day. So yeah, I'm sure everyone who's in it would love to get to that level, those type of games, international.
She's worked hard as well to get to where she has and overcome so many obstacles, and I think everyone in our sort of stripey family was behind her that day for come 5 o'clock.
And I think sort of it was recently in sort of media, obviously, with regards to officiating, that a record number of officials officiating in the GB under-20s, obviously across, and abroad and that. Obviously, people are being noticed in this country, obviously having a high standard of officiating, despite the bad press that sometimes you guys unfairly get.
Yeah, I think over the past couple of years, I've only been in it for a couple of years now, but from the past couple of years, the standards really raised, and the sort of support network we have with each other. We'll go home tonight and we'll call a few officials, we'll talk to our game, they'll talk to their game, but we learn something from everyone else every day.
And just on a sort of final note, when you're obviously officiating games and you're obviously finished and then you go into the next game, what's your sort of advice to anyone that sort of starts off at the young, the sort of junior levels, if you like, officiating, and wants to get into the sport, or even thought about getting involved in officiating? What sort of advice would you give them? Sort of, it's not as bad as it seems.
First and foremost, do it. Definitely, just get on.
I think the main thing, James, like I said, started last year, and he's a prime example. And obviously big and obviously tall and stuff. He's this second year now started doing the English Premier League, so there's improvement out there, and it's just listening as well, listening to the to advice that you get, take criticism on board, because we do get that, we get quite a lot from obviously people above us, and take everything on board. Next game's a learning curve, learn as you go on, but it's a cracking thing to get into if you can.
And like I say, at the end of the day, it's probably no secret that people don't get into it for the financial gain. I mean, obviously the higher levels do pay better, obviously, but it's not what something people go into the sport doing.
It's not for the money, because we don't get paid
a fortune.
No. It's for the love of the game.
Yeah.
We love to be involved in it. Games like this. We both live just outside Cardiff, so travelling all the way down here is for the game. It's for sort of to stay in the game. And
I suppose really sort of tail end of the season, if you've had a good season personally, and you get recognised and sort of awarded a cup final or a big playoff game, that's obviously a great feeling.
Let's hope so. Well, I was lucky enough to do the NIHL last year cup final, so touch wood. Hopefully this year we see what's around the corner.
Well, it's been interesting talking to you guys. Thanks for joining us, Steve, and also, James, and good luck in the rest of the games of the season.
Pleasure.